I don't think it's a controversial call to say that attribution models are getting harder to run these days, right? I think most of us could agree, walled gardens, privacy regulations, it's all getting a lot harder, right? We hear it from clients as well, saying, look, I don't have the data that I used to have in my model, but I know I've introduced some bias into my model, but look, I know it's not working the way that it used to, but, and that but, people, is a big potential problem. It could be massive danger, right? So we thought, look, it's really something that we should take a look at. And we've been working on it for a little while. We're not the only ones who'd been looking at it. Les, unfortunately, came out and had a piece before us looking at attribution. Maybe a little bit more of a hot take than I'm going to have on attribution. He basically said the whole thing's a load of bollocks. The idea that one channel can be given credit for an entire purchase, right? Where he's talking about a simple digital channel. And he's saying it's things working together. So, the illustration is always, I was going to go and buy a car, and that price point was really hot. That price point was fantastic. It's all price. Price was the thing that got me to do it, right? Nothing else at all. It was that price. Next person. Got showed a display ad. Fantastic display ad. Best display ad in the history of mankind. That is why I bought that car. Nothing else. Could have been 10 times the price. Doesn't matter. Price, it was all about that display ad. Another person, the brand. I'd seen Mercedes advertised since I was a small child. I thought it was the epitome of cars. That's why I bought it, that brand. Once again, price doesn't matter. Features, did it have wheels? Psh, who cares? It was the brand Mercedes. That's why I bought it. Or, and here's a controversial take, it's a combination of all of those things together, right? And that's before we get outside of our little marketing ecosystem even. Think distribution. Was the car available? Or did you have to wait 18 months with these COVID supply chain issues? Or was it that you think the economy is going down the toilet, so you're not going to buy as expensive a car because you want to keep some cash? All of these factors really work together to be able to do it. And in Les's take, not mine, that's the problem with an attribution model. But it's not just measurement experts and academics in some sort of ultimate measurement fighting championship arguing about this. We're hearing it from clients as well. So, we've got a financial services client who talks about how the model's not working the way that it used to, with rate increases going through. Obviously, everybody wants to go, what's going to happen to my mortgage? People are clicking on the pay click to go through to it. So it was showing them negative ROIs until they're able to adjust to it. Now, that's a big one where they could know that there was a problem and adjust the model to be able to show what it should be doing. What about the ones that aren't that big, that you don't know? Another client, they knew that they had some pretty good advertising from their testing, right? But whenever they were increasing their middle funnel or top of funnel advertising, it wasn't flowing through to the bottom of the funnel. It just wasn't showing up in the model at all. Both really digitally savvy clients, both very, very good, but dealing with models that weren't working the way that they used to and not as strong anymore. So we wanted to take a look to say, how bad could it be relying solely on an attribution model? Now, I'm not having a crack at attribution models here. I'm not Les. I'll throw him under the bus instead. I understand that there's some great attribution models out there. We run them ourselves for particular purposes, right? This is about solely relying on the attribution model, and my question is around the data that's going into the attribution models now, not the model themselves. Clearly, though, no matter how great your model, without data going into it, it's going to face a few problems, right? So we want to take a look at and see how much data is missing, what's the damage of that data missing, and what is the potential upside of making a change. Thought it would take the discussion on a little bit. So what's wrong with attribution now that might not have been beforehand? Well, firstly, it's incomplete. The data sets are missing and it's getting worse. It's not focused on incremental measurement, as Les aligned. It's not looking, as you do a little bit more of something, what happens to your sales? As you do a bit less, it's trying to say, this one thing caused all of that benefit. And it's often based on metrics that the broader business don't necessarily care about. CFO, generally it's about sales rather than about clicks. So making sure that we focus in on that broader view is important. The incomplete, it's not seen as much anymore, right? 36% of Australians have got ad blockers. It means there's a whole lot of web traffic without a referral ID. You look on iOS devices, there's a whole lot of people who have opted out of cross-app tracking, right? It means that a touchpoint attribution model is going to struggle with that. These are problems that have emerged that are getting worse. And this is before we get into the problems of Uncle Hoffman going around throwing stones at all of the validity of any online measurement, right?
It's coming under pressure. The data sets are not as complete as they used to be. It's not incremental. And this is where Les came at it, right? Of saying, look, if we show 1 million people an ad, you're going to get a bunch of people who respond to it directly. They click on it, they call the number that you asked them to, and then you're going to get a whole lot of those people who buy the way that you wanted them to, right? We go, hey, fantastic, I showed them this ad, they clicked here, they bought. See, I claimed that sale. It was my display ad after all, haha. But actually, there's a whole lot of those people who are going to buy it anyway, right? And this is where, old Bob goes, see, fraud, you're claiming sales you didn't actually get. A whole lot of those weren't actually incremental. I caught you. But actually, there's the flip of it as well. There's a whole lot of people who don't respond to it immediately. Right? There's that long lead chain that we're missing in the measurement. It's people who go into a store and buy the product instead. Your ad still drove people to do the purchases. Sure, some of those aren't incremental as well, but some of them are incremental. And often, it's way bigger than the bit that you think your measurement's done. So there's a whole lot of measurement, a whole lot of value that your activity's driving that you're missing in the measurement. You can see from this client, 200% change from the attribution figures, which means they could confidently allocate more marketing spend. Anybody need some more marketing budget at the moment? It sounds like a nice thing, right? Going into the tough times that we're doing. And then obviously, there's the problem with siloed metrics. And this is a big one we know. Having those siloed metrics can bring in a bias. It can make you focus on the wrong things at times. What do we know about advertising? 50% of the value comes from halo, rather than the thing that you're measuring. Miss that. 2/3 of the impact happens outside of the week that you air your execution. If you're doing a 7-day window, you miss that. In actual fact, we know that if you are using the silo metrics to optimize, for every dollar you're investing, you're losing 35 cents of opportunity. You're definitely not getting a good read on brand as you do it because of how it pays off over time. You're going to be biased towards those performance metrics when you do it. So it's a big issue, right? Is it going to get better? No. Definitely not. We're losing our cookies, right, from Chrome. Apple are taking more data away from us now. Privacy regulations, we might be lucky to have first-party data, let alone third-party data, right? It could be horrendous. So this problem is just getting worse. But this is something we've known for a while. This is not new news, right? This very august institution addressed this back in the day with the Beyond the Cookie. Dick said, look, what should we be doing going forwards? And they came out with Mix for setting your budgets, amongst other tools. I'm not going to claim it's just all Mix, but for setting your budgets, use the holistic view rather than the incomplete view to set your budget. Accenture came out with the same thing. Forrester came out with the same thing. Look, use that to set your budget, to understand it at a top level. Forrester studies, you can kind of see, they came out with the most recent one, called us a leader there again. We've been called a leader by them since 2016 of evaluation of big players in the space. So we thought how we probably need to be a leader, right? Probably need to lead, probably need to get into this discussion, see what we can do from the data sets that we've got. So we went away, we did some analysis. And what is it? Well, because we've got so many studies, you can see, 30 billion worth of Australian spend within there. We have all of the activity for a lot of clients. So we took all of the digital activity, we built out a pretty simple model. We wanted to make it really, really simple. So you could definitely do a better model, but we wanted to get rid of the bias. So it's an even credit model, right? Just so that we're not getting the bias of a first or a last click model within there. And then it could be about the data and not about the model. So we simulated that data out. We've compared it to the actual mixed studies that we've got. We've looked at just the top 4 digital channels in those studies. So display, video, social, and search. There's definitely a bigger tail. And then we've used the benchmarks that we've been through to be able to wash out some of that data. Like, we know how many people there were Android, we know how many were iOS, we know what devices people were looking at it. We've applied the ad blocker ratios across it to be able to take data out. And that was the first question we had, right? How much data are we missing? 59%. It's a lot, right? And I'm at the right group of people that we know more than half data missing is a problem for us. The bigger thing is, it's not all equal. So we looked at it and went, wow, how many conversions are we missing then? We found 8%. Hang on, something must be wrong here, right? Only 8%, what's going on with that? Then we realized it's because these clients are spending a lot on search, and if it's on a GA platform, you've still got that, right? So we're still picking up a lot of the conversions. The interesting bit is, when you look at it along the journey, you lose 30% of it. So now you're getting like one interaction on average of things. So we're thinking it's one thing that's doing it. That's a problem. it's unequal, the impact. That 59% total impact, we can see display takes a hit, social takes a big hit, that walled garden because they won't play nice. Video takes a big hit, search, we lose less of it, right? But there's a lot that's missing there. So when we talk about the but, is there a bias? But hell yeah, there is. We're thinking, without that data, what does that do to the model? You know, we're in the right place to talk about model fit, right? We wanted to see, what does it do? Even with a great model, and I happen to think a mixed model is a pretty great model. What's the impact? Our mixed model becomes a mixed guess. The R squared, 50% worse. The MAPE, 66% worse. I wouldn't put it in front of my clients. As soon as you remove those data signals, that's how bad it gets because of the data that's missing now. This wasn't a problem when we started with our attribution models. We had all of the data, we had everything. The models were perfect. This is a problem that's only going to get worse though. Now if it's that from a math perspective, yep, definitely a problem. What about from the decisions that we're making? If we compare it to a mixed model, we can see, you know, the old days, the big bit of base, and you know, here's the horrid story. We've reset the base here. That base is actually about 80 to 90% of the volume, which is that horrid story. Unfortunately, media doesn't drive a huge part of the sales. An important part, but not a big part of it. You can see the offline, and then as we move to an attribution model, you can see how we've got a lot more activity within there than what the mixed model thinks, because it's allocating every digital sale to a digital activity. As we take away those data signals, you can see we end up with less video, we end up with less social as our drivers. So what does that mean for us? Well, it means because we're over-claiming the digital, originally we thought our digital was 153% higher ROI than what it actually was. When we take away the data signals, we actually shoot ourselves in the foot. We don't realize that we're as good as we are, partly because we're recommending going into some lower ROI channels. But we're underestimating our performance. Already, we're not claiming we're as good as we are. When we look at that by channel, you can see we massively overclaim on display, on search, and we overclaim on social. Video, we don't think it's as good as what it really is. Then we take the data signals away, and social and video get worse. So we're going to be putting our money in the wrong places. We don't understand what our activity is actually doing for us. This could be a big issue, right? We're kind of thinking, hey, look, with you know, budgets under pressure, doesn't mean we're going to put things in the wrong place. So we plotted everything out on a curve. That blue line is the marginal response from the mixed model, right? So, you know, as we do more activity, what's the ROI? Now, obviously, you know, depending upon what the budget is, we could set to do that at, you know, 50 million and let the ROI come down to $1 because of our budget. The easy way to plot it on this, because we don't know what the budget is to say, at the most efficient point, what is the activity that we do? And for video on this one, we do about 6.5 million views on this one. The attribution model, though, would suggest doing 4, so we're a third under what we would be. Once we accept the data loss that we've got, we're only going to be doing 1/3 of the video activity that we should. Whilst we're trying to drive a lot of business for our clients, we're trying to help them grow under tough times, we're at 1/3 of the level that we should be. We look at that across all of the channels, we can see video, massive underinvestment, social's underinvested as well, search and display, a little bit overinvested, but there's that massive loss that we're doing there where we're not going to be doing enough of the activity because our measurement has got the wrong view, well, at least not enough of the view. So what? Well, we've told you, there is a but problem, right? Mathematically, yep, there's a problem that we're going to be making the wrong decisions. But I didn't want to just be doom and gloom and tell you, hey, there's a problem and not offer any sort of solution. So we took a look at it. It's not mixed. It's not, I'm not claiming it. Me and Henry might want it to be, but it's not. We're not going to claim that it's absolutely everything for you. There's no easy or single fix to this, right? First party data, sure, if you've got half of Australia in a loyalty database and you've got like masses of behavioral data and you're measuring your offline activity as well, it might not be a problem for you. You're sitting pretty. But if we think of the percentage of attribution studies that are run in Australia that have that tick next to it, it's a small component, right? So it's unlikely to be the solution for you. Clean rooms, brilliant within the walled garden, right? Great for optimizing the activity within that walled garden, but by very definition, it's not going to help you across media to get those combinations, how things are working together, right? Universal IDs, we can't agree on viewability, on reach, or attention. How are we going to come up with a metric that satisfies everybody? Like, come on. Machine learning models, a lot of benefit from them. But remember, they're as good as the data they're trained on. If the data's not there, how are you training the model on it? So none of these things are going to hit it. The good news is there is a solution. It's not one tool, it's not this tool, it's multiple tools. It's mixed modeling to set the budget. It's attribution still within the walled garden. If you want to know what's the best keyword to do, what's the best creative for me to have in what sequence, still the attribution model. It's still got value. As I said, I'm not having a crack at it. It's about using it in the right place for the data. And then experiments. Experiments we need to be doing a lot more of. And to be honest, this is the secret for growth. This is the thing that everybody needs to be doing more of, is combining them, right? Not doing them on their own. If I was to paraphrase that great 1990s philosopher Vanilla Ice, it's time to stop, calibrate, and listen, right? This is it. I promised I wouldn't sing it. My wife was like, dear God, please don't, please don't. But it gives us some benefits, right? It's speed. What's faster than an experiment? Nothing. You can do it small. You can do it, you're not wasting, risking a whole lot of budget. You get it out, you feed that back in. It'll make the mixed model more accurate, but here's the secret. It'll make the experiments more accurate as well. We talk about experiments as the gold standard. I tell you, some of the things that I've seen as called experiments, it's a joke, right? It's one treatment there, it's one treatment there. It'd be like standing on the street corner going, I've got some heart pills, and throwing them at people. That's the level of control that exists. What a mixed model does is help you with the contamination factors in an experiment, right? It helps things get more accurate. All of these models working together means all of your models are more accurate, and that's going to get us more growth. We're going to see things outside of each model with them all combined and working together. Will help our clients grow just at the time that we're struggling to get returns, at the time that the economy is tougher. This is perfection. We believe in it so much, we've come out with a platform around agile learning. As you can see, it's about experimentation. It's about dealing with contamination factors, right? This is where I think everybody needs to be focused on. As much as the boss would hate me saying it, there's nothing revolutionary here, people. It's experiments. We did them at school. Everybody needs to be onto it. And this is what I'm hoping is the good news, right? There's no new news here. Everybody knows this. And so what I'm hoping is, on the adoption scale, we're just before FOMO, when everybody thinks everybody else is doing it, and we'll all be doing it, and we'll be getting that growth. It's really, really key to it, of having that flywheel of optimization of things working together, because it's the collaboration and the calibration that we're not doing at the moment. As Hamish at Les Mills talks about, had an attribution model because they were doing loads of online stuff. They knew it gave them an incomplete view. They knew they were underestimating top of the funnel. They had some experiments going, but they brought in a mixed model, which fundamentally shifted how they were doing their investments. The business is now flying with it. The key now is having those experiments within each walled garden, with each platform, to be able to improve their performance. It's great news, right? There's a really simple solution. Everybody's got the capability to do it, and it's the thing that's going to drive us forwards, right? It means that Uncle Bob throwing stones at us isn't such an issue. There's an easy solution to get better measurement, faster measurement, and to help our clients grow. That's what I wanted to share today, so thank you very much.